This is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of the Harvard Medical School body parts selling allegations? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoy this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to a summary of the indictment, then offer my analysis. In 2022, Jeremy Lee Pauley was a resident of Enola, Pennsylvania, which is just outside Harrisburg. He ran a shop which sold odd and unusual items to the public. He claimed to be the executive director and curator of a museum. Jeremy created what could loosely be referred to as artwork by painting with blood. He had created several pieces depicting notorious serial killers like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer. On June 14, 2022, the police received a tip about suspicious activity at Jeremy's residence. They spoke to Jeremy, and he admitted to having 3 human skeletons and about 15 to 20 human skulls. He described himself as a collector of oddities. Investigators believe that Jeremy had acquired the items through a legitimate purchase. On July 8, the police received another call about Jeremy. The caller said they discovered additional human remains in Jeremy's basement. The police executed a search warrant at Jeremy's home and collected multiple buckets containing items like human brains, livers, and a skull. Further investigation revealed that Jeremy was purchasing remains from a woman named Candace Chapman Scott. She worked at a mortuary associated with the University of Arkansas. The remains that she allegedly sold to Jeremy included a head, brains, a female pelvis, human hands, and other items. The items had been shipped via the Postal Service. The police intercepted the shipment in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Jeremy was arrested on July 22 and charged with a number of offenses, including receiving stolen property. He allegedly admitted to purchasing items from Candace and reselling them on Facebook for profit. Candace was indicted on several charges in Arkansas, including mail fraud, wire fraud, and interstate transportation of stolen property. On June 13, 2023, an indictment involving Harvard Medical School was filed in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania. 4 people were the target of the indictment. 55-year-old Cedric Lodge, who worked for Harvard Medical School as the morgue manager. He lived in New Hampshire. His 63-year-old wife, Denise, a 44-year-old resident of Salem, Massachusetts, named Katrina McLean, who owned a store in Peabody called Cat's Creepy Creations, and a 46-year-old man named Joshua Taylor, who lived in Pennsylvania. Jeremy Pauley was also mentioned, although he was not the target of this indictment. Here is a summary of the indictment. Much of this is paraphrased. The document starts by describing some background information. In order to teach students and conduct research, Harvard Medical School makes use of human cadavers. When the school is finished with the cadavers, the remains are cremated, laid to rest in a cemetery in Massachusetts, or returned to the donor's family. Employees of the school are not permitted to keep, sell, or remove human remains. The indictment then describes alleged criminal behavior. Here are the allegations made by the government. Cedric Lodge, the morgue manager, removed dissected portions of donated cadavers from Harvard Medical School without the school's knowledge or permission. The portions include heads, skin, bones, and brains. Cedric transported the remains to his residence in New Hampshire. He and his wife, Denise, used social media websites and cell phones to communicate with other people, including Katrina McLean and Joshua Taylor. An arrangement was made to sell the remains. Cedric allowed Katrina and Joshua to visit the morgue in order to pick out what remains they wanted to buy. It was like Cedric turned the morgue into a dark and disturbing indoor bazaar. After taking possession of the remains, Katrina sold them from the store she operated, Cat's Creepy Creations, as well as through other means. One of her buyers was Jeremy Pauley, the man I talked about who had been arrested in 2022 after buckets of body parts were found in his basement. Joshua Taylor also sold remains to Jeremy for over $40,000. From 2018 to 2021, a PayPal account operated by Denise Lodge received 39 electronic payments from Joshua Taylor totaling over $37,000. These payments were for stolen human remains. For example, in May of 2019, Joshua sent a payment for $1,000 containing a memo that read, "Head number 7." In November 2020, he sent $200 with a memo that read, "Brains." The way he spelled the word brains contained 6 I's, like he was trying to mimic the well-known zombie mantra. I find it curious that Joshua purchased that specific part. Maybe to him a brain was a novelty, as it is not an organ that he personally possessed. Sometime around October of 2020, Katrina agreed to purchase 2 dissected faces from Cedric for $600. They met at Harvard Medical School to complete the transaction. Sometime around June or July 2021, Katrina shipped human skin to Jeremy. She asked him to tan the skin to create leather. On July 31, Jeremy sent a photograph of the leather to Katrina. She agreed to provide him with more human skin instead of paying him money. Essentially, she obtained the tanning services by paying Jeremy with skin. In late September 2021, a few days after shipping Jeremy's skin payment, Katrina contacted Jeremy because she, quote, "wanted to make sure it got to you and I don't expect agents at my door," unquote. This makes it seem like Katrina knew that she was doing something illegal. Cedric, Denise, Katrina, and Joshua were all charged with interstate transport of stolen goods. At the time making this video, they maintained the presumption of innocence. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Cedric Lodge had worked for Harvard Medical School since 1995. He was fired on May 6, 2023, probably because of the selling human remains part. Harvard claims that no other employees at the school were suspected of any wrongdoing. The school has no shortage of controversies. Harvard had a massive cheating scandal in 2012, which they reacted to in a heavy-handed manner. The school has been accused of elitism, having a lack of diversity, and grade inflation. That last item is particularly worrisome as it makes it difficult for employers to know how graduates from different schools compare academically. Grades no longer mean anything to Harvard, just like they don't mean anything to many schools. Just when Harvard thought that things couldn't get any worse, they find themselves in a scandal involving body parts being sold. This is a massive violation of trust to those people who were generous enough to donate their bodies to science and education. Behavior like this is going to make people think twice about doing that. Item number 2. As I mentioned, Katrina McLean ran a store called Cat's Creepy Creations. The store specializes in creepy dolls, oddities, and bone art. One post on Instagram had a caption that read, "If you're in the market for human bones, hit me up." It appears as though the store mostly sells creepy dolls. They range in price from $45 to $200. I don't know if Katrina is guilty or not guilty as far as the whole mess with Harvard, but one thing is absolutely certain. No one can accuse her of false advertising through her use of the word creepy. Katrina has a Facebook page featuring images of her creations. The vast majorities of the dolls are too horrifying for me to show in one of my videos, which is really saying something considering that I've had videos featuring images of Elizabeth Holmes, Steven Seagal, and Kamala Harris. It is difficult to explain the nature of Katrina's work only using words. Therefore, I selected 7 of the dolls that had a relatively low level of creepiness by comparison to show in this video. This is important to keep in mind as I display the images of these dolls. These were the ones that were the most benign, innocent-looking, and non-threatening. Here they are. I have labeled them Creation 1 through 7. Creation 1 appears to be some type of demonic Easter bunny that kind of looks like a cat. Creation 2 could be like an alien or an elf. I have no idea. Creation 3 appears to be a doll that has risen from the dead, like a zombie, perhaps one that shares a desire for brains with Katrina. Creation 4 is a clown. They are creepy enough on their own without any assistance. Creation 5 has some clown face paint along with a bad hair day. Creation 6 is one of the few male dolls. I guess it's supposed to be like a farmer boy who was possessed by a demon. And finally, Creation 7 appears to be a nun. I think this is who the parents of the farmer boy called to get rid of the demon. I can imagine his parents opening the farmhouse door and seeing the nun standing there. After an awkward silence, the nun is like, "I know, I get it. I have an unsettling appearance, but your other choice is the demonic Easter bunny, so take your pick." Some people may look at these odd creations and think they could only come from a disturbed mind. I don't think this is necessarily true, but it is worth noting that the woman who created these specific dolls has been accused of buying and selling body parts. She also allegedly wanted to convert human skin into leather. Was she going to incorporate this into her artwork? Like she looked at the dolls and thought, they are simply not disturbing enough. How can I step up my game? Item number 3. One of the more unusual elements of this case is the apparent fascination with body parts. Most people have a level of disgust sensitivity high enough to avoid elements associated with death. However, some people have very low levels. Disgust sensitivity is thought to be an adaptive response that helps people stay alive. For example, it prevents people from engaging in casual sexual encounters, eating food that is spoiled, failing to bathe, and having contact with dead bodies. Disgust sensitivity is a product of socialization. When someone is under-socialized, they tend to have low disgust sensitivity. They are unresponsive to socially transmitted norms about domains like sex, food, hygiene, and death. Low disgust sensitivity is associated with a low level of neuroticism and high levels of sadism, narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. It is also associated with an increased risk of psychosis. Now moving to my final thoughts. This case features a level of treachery from all the alleged perpetrators that is hard to comprehend, but I imagine that Cedric is the one who is in the most trouble. He is the one who allegedly removed the remains from the morgue. It would appear as though, while working in a dead-end job, Cedric dug his own grave. The government found the skeletons in his closet, and now he has a ghost of a chance of escaping responsibility. Those are my thoughts on the Harvard Medical School body parts selling allegations. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.